there's no key. My guiding light when I can't see. Nothing is impossible because of me.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? It's Thursday. It's 9 o'clock.
How are you?
Hope you are ready to rock and roll because we are here on the couch. How was your week? How's everything been going? How have you been hanging out? I don't know if you're anywhere near Northwest PA, but this weather has been crazy.
Yes, it has been.
It is the end of April, and I heard somebody the other day talking about we might still get some snow. I don't know what to do with that.
I love snow,
I don't know what to do with that.
but not in April.
I mean, really, we shouldn't be looking at snow in April. That just makes no sense. But anyway, at any rate, we are here, and we're excited about it. And so, thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight. I know, people keep saying y'all start so late, but I think we have to.
Wow.
Well, because you want to make sure that there's nothing else distracting you from this hour.
Well, most people sleep at this time. Well,
not most people sleep. You sleep. Not most people.
Usually sleep.
Usually, or trying to fake like you won't stay up.
People who have to be to work early in the morning, like 6 o'clock or 5:30, are asleep now.
Should be sleep now, but some people like to pretend like they're on the couch.
That's me.
Yeah, it's like, go to bed. But at any rate, that's
I'm
better.
Now, and he's not. And
this is Couch
Conversations.
And tonight we've got a very interesting topic that we want to discuss with you, because we are now 4 months into 2021, and it has been an interesting turn of events when you consider where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
4 months into 2020.
Yeah.
And so tonight's show, Burnout, dealing with exhaustion in life and marriage.
Are you burned out?
And I think you are, if you're anything like the rest of us.
Has that flame gone away?
I think too many. There are a lot of people who be like, yes, that's me. I can see the hands going up right now. I'm burned out. I'm tired. I'm exhausted and all of that other stuff. I think a lot of people are that way right now. And I think a lot of people are struggling, even though the current state of affairs in the country has made a turn for the better with the vaccines and people getting back to work and all of that other stuff that's going on for the positive. I think a lot of people are burned out from not doing anything.
Yeah.
And they're struggling with the notion of getting back to that.
And did the pandemic heighten that exhaustion?
I think it's a different kind of exhaustion.
Really?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody today and they were saying how right before the pandemic, they had lost all this weight. But then because of the pandemic, they couldn't go nowhere, they couldn't do nothing, they gained it all back and then some.
No.
So now they're struggling to lose it. And then, I saw a buddy of mine today, he lost some 60 pounds since January doing one of those dream team exercises. So good, congratulations to Chris on that. But a lot of people had made a lot of progress in a lot of areas before COVID. And as a result of
their marriage,
and life, and work,
individual
aspect. Couples, everything. A lot of progress had been made, but because of COVID and the restrictions that it put on life, a lot of people are at a place now where they feel defeated, deflated, distracted, dysfunctional. They're just back. They're not where they thought they should be, could be, would be. And it's very interesting when you talk to people, even on this side of the pandemic, where, like I said, things are back open. We're able to gather more. You've got the vaccines now. So they're starting to relax a lot of the guidelines and restrictions. And yet people are still feeling restricted with life and
Yeah.
things like that. So it's interesting when you look at burnout because it has to start first with life.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for a lot of couples, it carries over to the marriage. It will get into it. When we're too tired to be bothered, we get in trouble. We get in trouble. So that's what we want to talk about tonight. Burnout. Yeah, because you do, like you said, some people they have to go to bed early because they got to get up early. And then if you have a challenging job, much like yours, then you're up at 6 to be at work by 7, dealing with a very stressful environment with a lot of different personalities. You've got a lot of different wants and needs coming at you. You've got to appease a lot of different people.
And if the marriage has children, too.
Huh?
Children in the marriage, if you have children also.
Well, we're talking about work right now.
I know, but you're explaining. I'm just saying. And
well, yeah, I haven't even gotten home. We still at work.
Sorry.
Well, yeah, but you're right. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not disagreeing with you because children can be a lot. Praise the Lord. But yeah, no, that couples with it. I mean, if you get up early and you stressed, and then you go to work and you're dealing with everything at work, and then you come home and you've got to deal with a lot at home. Where's the break? Where's the reprieve? Where's the relief? And it can be challenging, stressful. It can be a lot to have to handle. And then you've got that one person saying, hey, don't forget about me.
Right.
I need some attention. I need my needs met. I need whatever I need. And it can be difficult for a lot of people to deal with that. A lot of couples are experiencing marriage burnout because of pressures and daily aggravations related to life.
Yeah.
It carries over. But the marriage becomes not another thing. I had nothing else left to give.
Mm-hmm.
I gave everything at work. I gave everything to my boss. I gave everything to my coworkers. I gave everything to my clients. I gave everything to the people in the street. And I had to drive home or commute home. I had to give everything to them. Then I come in the house. I got to give everything to the house because it needs to be cleaned and kept.
True.
Then I gave everything to the kids, like to your point. And now here comes this spouse. Like, okay, it's my turn.
That is true. Like the marriage always becomes the back burner, like the last thing that we think about after a long day. If you're working after a long day at work, or some people are still home working, but after that work day, it's like that's what you think about last. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta be mindful of the spouse that I married after all of this.
Mm-hmm. And please be mindful of your spouse. Please don't leave the spouse out. Don't leave the spouse out. But it's true, and it's a challenge because we for whatever reason we'll take for granted that our spouse will understand.
Mm-hmm.
Will assume that, okay, you see all of this other stuff I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you adding more to my plate?
Yeah.
Like, didn't you see me leave the house before the sun came up?
Right.
Didn't you see me come in the house and clean and cook and all this other stuff? Didn't you see me doing homework? In your case, you still doing school. Didn't you see me doing all this other stuff? And now here you come on, give me a hug, give me a kiss, give me love. No. But that's a challenge. Why is it that we always do? You're absolutely right. Why do we do that? Why do we make the marriage the last thing that we want to deal with?
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets punished for everything else that we had to deal with.
Yeah.
I think we get confused when we are married, especially for some time, where we'll think, okay, we've been together for long now. You know what I'm doing. You know what I got going on. You see everything on my plate. So I shouldn't have to tell you that I'm too tired to be bothered with you, because people have been.
Because you should know my face.
Exactly.
You should know my face.
Right. And it's a challenge because, especially people with high intense jobs, right? Like I'm a pastor. For those of you who don't know, I'm a pastor. So as a pastor, people are my business, whether it's a counseling session, whether it's dealing with the leadership, whether it's dealing with couples, whether, whatever it is, we're dealing with stuff. We have situations in the church where we've got to deal with what's going on in the church. And so I'm always dealing with people. If I have to deal with a service provider, if I have to deal with someone who's coming to service the church, property, equipment. We just got a new copier in the church. So I had to deal with the people who were bringing in the new one, taking out the old one. They were showing us, they were setting it up. Dealing with people is what I do all day long. So I get a little tired of dealing with people, if I can have a candid moment. And yet I live with 5 other people and a dog. And so it's a challenge when you're in the people business and then you're trying to do life on a personal level with people.
Yeah.
When you're in the people business and the people personal, it's hard to separate
People
the two.
personal.
And yet, here's the kicker. I took the job. And so the job requires me to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you to marry me. So I'm responsible for dealing with you.
Mm-hmm.
One was a request, one was a requirement. The marriage was a request to deal with each other. I'm asking you to deal with me for the rest of our life. The job is a requirement, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's pastoring, whether it's teaching, whatever it is, unless you, I can't actually think of any profession where you don't have to deal with people.
Right.
But, regardless of your profession, when you ask someone to marry you, or when you say yes to a marriage proposal, you're making and accepting a request to deal with each other. Whereas your job or your furthering your education, those are requirements to deal with each other. Like even you're in school online, but you're required to interact with your other classmates, right? The posting
I just
situation.
had a title in my head. Sorry.
Right there. And so we've got to remember that. I think we forget that too often in marriage, that my marriage, my relationship with my spouse is a requested engagement. I'm asking you to be engaged with me. I shouldn't take for granted that you are. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yes.
If I'm making sense out there, hit the like button, hit a heart, or type something in the chat. Let me know I'm making sense. Because what we're after here is helping to shed light really on those corners of our relationship that we forget to deal with. Well, like you said, putting our marriage in the back burner, we tend to forget that our spouse has needs that we need to address. And so the world will take from our spouse, whether it's the job, whether it's the co-workers, whether it's school, whatever the case might be. It is our job as the spouse to give back to each other and not be, there'll be times when, okay, I've been at work all day and I had to deal with this person, I had to deal with that person, I had to deal with the other person. And then I come home, I still need to tend to your needs. Simultaneously, as the spouse, there will come a time when you need to deal with my needs because I've spent so much time dealing with the world's needs. Does that make sense? We forget
We
to
need to be
that.
each other's Pedialyte. Okay, you guys see those the new commercials when the people are burned out and the child has the Pedialyte or something, or the parent, I think it's a parent has a Pedialyte because they burned out and the child comes to the parent, but I'm like, that's fine. But the Pedialyte replenishes you.
Yeah.
Like gives you more energy
Yeah.
and puts back in what you given out. So
Yeah.
we need to be each other's Pedialyte.
That's right. We've got to get to that place where we pay attention to each other.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, read the face. read the sign. What's going on in the face? What's going on here? So that I can know, okay, you're having a moment.
Mhm.
Let me rub your feet. Let me rub your back. Let me rub your shoulders, your neck. Let me bring you something that'll comfort
Right.
you. You were asleep on the couch today. I just threw a blanket over you, kicked the dog out, told the kids to be quiet, turned it. I created an environment for you to get some rest.
Right.
There's a time when I need to be quiet so that you can focus on the rest of the world.
Right.
Understanding and accepting that eventually you're going to come back and check in with me. Hey, I haven't paid you any attention for a while, so let's rap, let's talk,
Right.
let's connect, whatever. But I think a lot of people will equate burnout in life with burnout in marriage.
Mhm.
Because going back to what we said earlier, when you are so tired from life that you don't have any time, energy left for your spouse, there grows a chasm between the two of you to the point where we're disconnected.
Right.
We haven't touched, we haven't talked, we haven't shared, we haven't embraced each other. And that's a challenge because now I'm neglecting you and we're neglecting the marriage.
Yeah.
And so a lot of couples, even through this pandemic, okay, you're working from home, I'm working from home, the kids are doing school from home. So even though everybody's in the house together, I can't do my Zoom meeting in the same room as you do in your Zoom meeting.
Right.
So I need to go to another room, and then I got to put my headphones in, and then I got to stay focused. I got to stay locked in to my computer, tablet, or whatever I'm using so that I'm not distracted. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've seen where people are building these home offices with multiple screens going on so that they can get all of their work done at home,
Right.
but they're hiding behind the screen.
Mhm.
And so where their screen time is increased because they've got to be productive, it also creates a wall or barrier between you and your spouse.
Oh, yeah.
So that you can walk in the room and I'll never know it because I've got all these screens in front of me.
Yes, we had that issue.
Yes. We did. She was
I'm
not
like,
happy.
I can't see you now. Like, because our desks face each other.
Mhm.
And I'm just so comfortable with like, oh, you over there doing your work and I'm doing mine.
Mhm.
But
Then I put a 24-inch monitor on the
I was
desk.
like, I can't see you now. I think that's my encourager, like my builder. When I see you,
Mhm.
if I'm doing work, you are my encourager. Like it gives me more what do I want to say? More
Motivation.
motivation to continue what I'm doing if you're across from me or near me. You are my motivation. Like when you're not around, I always tell you that too. I always be like, I'm not motivated if you're not like in my face, like saying, come on, you can do this, get through it.
Mhm.
So yes, we do need each other.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Because exhaustion to one spouse might be something different to the other spouse.
Yeah. And it's true because I will be, there are some days when I'm just like, if one more person call my name, I'm going to throw something. And then you'll call my name in that moment. And it's like,
and you
okay,
throw
but
something?
no,
Oh.
because I've always said it for 22 years since we've been together. I've always said you're the exception to every rule in my life.
Yeah.
And that's one of those exceptions. If my phone rings, if it's a text, a tweet, a DM, an instant messenger, Facebook messenger, an email, phone call, whatever it is, when I hit that moment where I need to shut off from everybody, and then you call my name, all of that emotion of leave me alone goes to the left.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be in a marriage. Unfortunately, many people forget that the longer they're together.
Yeah.
If you go back to the days when you had those arranged marriages, and I'm not a fan of them, but arranged marriages always started where the young lady was younger. The husband was already established. He had his job. He had his vocation. He had his money. So he was able to provide a life for her. And she was an arranged marriage at a young age where she did not have the distractions of life to get in the way. And her focus could be on her husband. A few years after that, a few decades after the arranged marriage, now you've got people getting married right out of college. That was the new thing. Okay, I go to high school, I graduate high school, and then I go to college, and I find my forever love. And then as soon as we graduate, the next weekend we get married, and now we're building a life together, and we're struggling to figure it out. And we've got a 1-bedroom efficiency, and we're trying to do this whole thing. And then we build from there. But the building of the life together lends itself to the building of the relationship. Well, here we are in this new millennium, and people are getting married later in life after they've established a single setup.
Right.
I graduated, I get my master's, I get my PhD, I'm out here, I'm successful, I'm chasing that dollar, I'm buying my first house, I'm buying my second car, I'm building up my bank account, I'm doing me.
Right.
And you hear a lot of people saying, I need somebody who's on my level. Well, if you're making 7 figures by the age of 29, you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody who's single making 7 figures that's in the same age group.
So how do you balance that, the exhaustion and coming home to more exhaustion? Because you already burnt out from life or from work or from outside of the household requirements, and then you have to come home to the requirements of the house, where whether it be just you and your spouse, or you and your pet, or you and family. How do you balance those things? How do you balance it?
Well, it starts with the reality that you have to balance. You cannot just be. First of all, too often we just kind of meander through life. It's like, oh Lord, here we go again. And we get so distracted by those overwhelming situations that the areas of our life that are supposed to pour back into us and build us up and edify us, we don't even have the energy to be excited for those. We don't look forward to date night anymore, because that's the night that I could be asleep.
Right. Really, like,
I don't have the energy to get dressed up. I don't have the energy. I get dressed every day.
Rain check.
We get in trouble because we start neglecting each other because we don't have the energy. We don't make the time.
Yeah.
And we don't have the energy for it. And it's a challenge. And a lot of it has to do with perspective.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're the exception to every rule in my life. So no matter how frustrated I could be with the world, no matter how tired, exhausted I can be, when you call my name, either you need me or you want me.
Just call my name.
Watch it now. Don't start nothing. We on the radio.
And I'll come running.
See. I'm going to try that later. Anyway, but for me, I have found that when I get excited because it's you, the text messages in the middle of the day, I just had a quick question, or bring some eggs home. That is where I derive.
Does that still happen in marriages? I'm asking a question.
Wait a minute, what we
Do you still get excited when you see your spouse?
You should. That's how you balance.
We're talking about exhaustion.
Right.
And if you're so exhausted that you don't even want to see your spouse, like, do we still get excited about seeing our spouses in marriages?
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole other show.
Somebody write that in the comment section.
The balance says I should look forward. I should get excited to see my spouse because everything and everyone else in my life is draining me.
Yes.
So I should get excited to be refreshed and refilled.
Because he should be your encourager. He should be your motivator.
Yeah.
Or not he, but the other spouse.
Your spouse. Right.
Your spouse should be your motivator.
Yeah.
Your spouse should provide you strength when you're weak.
Yeah.
And all those things, yes.
I used to, now this is me being candid, I used to complain whenever I would be in a mood and then she would come and be all chipper and hype and I'm like, really? I'm just not. And I would get angry. I would get in my feelings. I would be borderline resentful because here I am, like here, and you're here.
And I'm like, hey, boo.
And I'm like, wait, does she not realize that I'm not in the mood for this right now? I'm not.
Why are you so sad?
But I realized that polar opposite scenario is a necessary situation to bring me from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
Too often, and it goes back to what we talked about before on one of the other shows about that whole 50-50 versus 100% thing.
Yeah.
The purpose, one of the purposes of a marriage is to provide what we need or are in lack of.
Yes.
So when I am on 1 and you come on 9 or 10,
Mm-hmm.
the goal is for you to bring me
you
up
Yes.
and not me bring you down.
Yes. I like that.
But the problem is,
That's nice.
if the more aggressor is on 1, they push away the 10. They'll push away the 9.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I ain't got time for this. I don't want to go because they misinterpret the purpose, the reason why you're on 9 and 10 and they're on 1 and 2.
And when does exhaustion come into play in that? Like, what year?
See, the thing about it,
I'm just asking questions.
I don't think it does.
It doesn't.
What I found through conversation, through research, what I have found is that exhaustion in marriage, because of marriage, doesn't occur. Exhaustion from life occurs and it bleeds into the marriage.
Okay.
The marriage will suffer because I'm too tired to be bothered.
Yeah.
And you're no longer the exception to every rule in my life. But I'm not exhausted being married to you. Now, I can be exhausted with you because you can be doing too much. See, not you, but I'm making an example.
Oh, I was gonna say, give an example.
Emotionally, if you have two people who are always at opposite ends of the spectrum and they don't make an attempt to meet each other in the middle, not halfway, but in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
then yes, you can become emotionally exhausted in the marriage to the point where it's like, okay, those people who are constantly trying to encourage and their spouse is just constantly rejecting it. Like, I don't care, leave me alone.
So a spouse can be the exhaustion.
Yes.
Okay.
If they're constantly objecting the connection and the connectivity,
Mm-hmm.
the engagement.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to bring you from a 1 to a 7 or a 1 to a 10, or if I'm trying to lift your spirits and you're constantly negative, you're constantly rejecting that, not the sexual advances, but just the advances of, hey, it's going to be all right. If I'm trying to encourage you, motivate you.
That can be exhausting for the one that is the encourager.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. When you are the constant source of encouragement and you're constantly being
Because you're
rejected.
constantly giving, give, and you're getting rejected. And then the one who's giving,
Mhm.
gets exhausted for giving.
Absolutely.
So the spouse that's receiving it,
Mhm.
what are they like? They're not exhausted. Oh, they're not paying attention.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. See, if I'm
That's
so
horrible,
distracted
man.
because it's like, think about a person driving down the road and you're supposed to be looking ahead, but then you see an accident over here and now you're distracted, but there's still stuff going on in front of you and you're still moving forward.
mm-hmm.
And then something happens in front of you where you should react,
Mm-hmm.
but because you're looking over here, you don't see what's coming in front of you and then you end up having a crash.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in a marriage.
Jeez.
We'll get so distracted by life and everything else going on outside the marriage that we'll forget
We're crashing
to
and
pay
burning.
attention to
man.
where we're supposed to be going.
Pay attention.
And we crash and burn.
Mm.
And it's so true. It's a dangerous thing when you have an introvert and an extrovert married to each other. I'm not going to say it is. It could be a challenging thing.
Great, because I'm an
Introvert.
introvert.
hmm And you think I'm an extrovert, but I'm actually an introvert. I'm good. Think about it. Think about the last 22 years we've been together. I'm always good when it's just me and you.
Well, yeah.
I'm always.
Oh, I think I'm getting confused with the social
Mhm.
piece. Like you're very social, and I'm not
I'm sociable,
sociable.
but I'm okay if I'm not around a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
I get
You're right.
cabin fever, but that doesn't mean I need to be around people. Because when I get cabin fever, I can go to movies by myself. I can go
Mhm.
play golf by myself. I can go to Walmart by myself. I don't have to.
So.
Yeah. So I really am an introvert, but because of the work and the vocation that God has called me to, I have to deal with people. And I don't mind dealing with people. I do enjoy it, but I don't need it. Extroverts, they need people. They need interactions. They need engagements. We are actually two introverts. The only difference is I can be sociable and you could care less. Anybody over 2 feet tall, she don't want it. She don't want to be bothered. I'm telling you now.
I was like, okay. I love it.
If you don't call her Miss Better.
Exhaustion.
I'm just saying.
My baby.
I'm just saying.
Exhaustion is a state of extreme physical or mental fatigue. So your body is fatigued, your mind, your existence is fatigued. Marriage burnout is a painful state of emotional exhaustion and physical and emotional depletion experienced by spouses, the absence of motivation to do anything. Like you're tired of fighting, you're tired of trying, you're tired of existing, you're tired of talking, you're tired of you're just exhausted from everything. Tired. It's the absence of motivation.
What is it? Sick and tired of being
sick and tired of being tired. You're tired of getting up in the morning, looking your best. You're tired of getting dressed.
And when you're tired, your inhibitions are lowered. Your tempers are higher. You're quick to anger. You're slower to hold your tongue. You get offended easily. If I'm already in a mood and then here you come in invading my personal space, well, I'm about to fight. I'm ready to swing because I'm sensitive already and I'm tired. I don't feel like it. And then we get to that place. A study at the University of Berkeley gave 60 couples a sleep journal for over a week and tasked them to complete it as a couple. They found that couples that got more sleep worked better together, encouraged each other more, and expressed more gratitude for each other.
Come on, sleep therapy.
But the individuals who got less sleep were more likely to prioritize their needs over their partners. If I don't get sleep, if I don't get rest, then I'm stressed and I'm worried about everything that I have to do.
Right.
Whereas if we get enough sleep and enough rest, then we feel good when we wake up and we're considerate of one another. We're focused more on one another. We're open more to one another.
So that goes back to our topic where we talk about nightly routines. So that means we have to go to bed earlier, shut everything down earlier.
Or go to bed more intentionally.
Intentionally, together. Because I go to bed earlier than you, and you stay up later. So you're getting less sleep than I am.
But I think that's a difference because I don't require as much sleep as you do.
Right, because they always say you need at least 8 hours of sleep. Well,
I won't sleep more than 4.
I'm about to say some people don't need as much sleep, but if you know that your body needs it, then especially to be happy, because it's just like kids. When they're tired, they're cranky.
Oh, forget about it.
They're crying. They're moody. It's the same with when you're adult. When you're tired, you're cranky. You're angry. You don't want to be bothered. You're exhausted. You throw when adults throwing temper tantrums. Yes. We throw temper tantrums. Yes. That's that. I ain't talking to you for a whole week. That's a tantrum.
Right. What's wrong with you? Ain't nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with you?
Yes.
Okay.
But get some rest. It's important. Especially in marriage. You have to get rest.
And the thing about it, you can spend quality time getting rest where you're not both asleep. Like we do. You'll go to bed and you'll go to sleep and I'll be laying there watching the game or watching TV or working on, scripts or the book or whatever I'm doing on my tablet or stuff like that. But we're in bed and we're there together because you always say you sleep better when I'm there. And I know I do as well. So the reality is you've got to be intentional about your time and your focus, but you cannot lose perspective. Too many couples lose perspective because they get so distracted by everything else. To your question earlier about the balance piece, to find balance, you first have to acknowledge all of the areas of your life that need attention, and that includes your marriage.
Right.
It should not be the last thing on your list, even though it may be the least thing on your list. See, that's the tricky part, because when you stop and think about it, in a 24-hour day, generally 8 hours of that, you're at work. If you factor in, let's say, a 30-minute commute, that's 9 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then you factor in an hour in the morning to get ready. So now you're up to 10 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Then you factor in, let's call it an hour to get dinner done. Now you're at 11 hours. If you sleep for 8 hours, now you're up to 19. You've only got 5 hours left.
Right.
But you haven't helped the kids with their homework. You
Come
haven't
on, man.
done your homework. You haven't cleaned the house. There are only 24 hours in a day.
So we have to prioritize.
Have to prioritize. That's how you find the balance.
Yes.
You've got to look at your 24 hours and say, okay, do I realistically have any time in this day to give to my spouse?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is no in that day, then you make it up on another day.
Right.
Not like your schedule, with your school schedule. We know that Wednesdays, that's when your assignments are due.
My school.
So I know
My assignment.
I'm not getting no FaceTime with her. I'm not getting no holding her hand because they
Not coming
type it
out
on the
taking that.
keyboard. I'm not getting no nothing on Wednesday. You hear what I'm saying? Oh, I'm sorry. But anyway, Wednesdays for us is out until she graduates, which is coming, praise the Lord. But I understand that and I respect that because of what you're doing with your education. So we make that up on other days,
Yeah.
i.e. this hour. Even though this hour is spent for you all, we're giving you help and advice and suggestions, etc. We are actually utilizing this hour as quality time together.
This is our quality time.
Because I want you to remember, this whole show was birthed out of our quality time. And you would be amazed at what you can birth out of your quality time with your spouse.
Yeah.
So I'll just give you that one for free. Okay, what time is it? 9:37. Okay, we've got to. So let's turn the corner a little bit, because the truth is, marriages suffer because individuals don't separate the personal from the business. We'll get, like I said, we'll get caught up in everything going on and going wrong in life, whether it's work, school, even and you should notice by now, I make a very clear distinction between mommy and daddy and husband and wife.
Oh, yes, he does.
The children are separate from the marriage. Let me say that again for the cheap seats. The children are separate from the marriage. When you're looking at life from the lens of your marriage, you've got work, you've got school, you've got hobbies, you've got church, you've got children, but all of those are external stressors to the marriage. And yes, your children, your pets, those are external stressors to the marriage. Do not make the mistake of including your children in your marriage. Write that in your notes. You're going to need that later.
We need to revive our marriages someday.
We do. We definitely do. We definitely do. And if you
some
have,
of our marriages are just tied,
listen,
and dead.
that's
And
the truth. If you have children, you need to make a clear distinction between your child's parents and your spouse's spouse.
Mhm.
You have to do that because the day should come when the children are gone. And if the children have been part of the definition of the marriage,
Yeah.
then when that chunk of identity is withdrawn, then you get lost.
That's
Who
right.
am I?
Who am I?
And my wife is far more than my children's mother.
Right. And my husband is far more
I
than my
can't explain my
children's
favorite how
daddy.
they do. But it's so true. And so balance. We got to look at the balance. Count your hours, count your time, look at everything that you do have to do every day, and spread it out. And remember, the marriage is supposed to be forever.
Yeah.
So it's okay if we don't get an hour today. If we get 10 minutes in the morning, if we get 15 minutes at night, because we can make that up on the other end. Like
Right.
what we do every Saturday for us is Bible study. I teach the men at 9 o'clock. She teaches the women at 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, 11:15, if they go over, but by 11:30, we're having breakfast.
together.
We're either making breakfast together or we're sitting down or we're going somewhere to eat breakfast. But that's our time after we've done time with everybody else. Then we are intentional about that time. Even Sunday mornings, we'll wake up and we'll just lay in bed and talk before we get ready for church. After church, we take a nap together. There are ways of creativity that you have yet to tap into. If you feel I'm exhausted in my marriage, the first thing you need to do is grab a pen and paper and sit down and write out why you think you're exhausted in your marriage.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet, and let me assure you, most of the reasons that you have attributed to your marital fatigue are not actually internal marital struggles, but they're external sources of fatigue and stress, like work, like money, like kids, and all these other things. And so that's one of the first things that you have to do. Differentiate. In order to strengthen your marriage when you're tired, differentiate outside stresses from internal stresses. Now, I can be tired of constantly being rejected. I can be tired of constantly being ignored. I can be tired of constantly being taken for granted, overlooked, or all of those things from my spouse. That's an internal stressor.
Right.
If I'm constantly trying to, like you say, I'm a good motivation for you, I'm a good encourager for you. Well, if I'm constantly trying to be that, but you reject it, well, what do you think? Oh, I think okay, let's take a parent, not yours, but a parent. If the wife says, honey, what do you think about this outfit? Oh, you look great. No, I don't, I look fat. That's not a good color for me. Why would you say that? My hair is messed up. If I'm constantly trying to encourage and you're constantly rejecting my encouragement, that can make a person tired.
Yeah.
That's an internal stressor. But we have to make sure that we're not punishing our spouse for the sins of the world or the sins of life. I should not hold you accountable because they stress me out at work. I should be able to come home and de-stress.
Yes.
Scream, yell, holler, complain, cry, moan, whatever. Listen, the day I had, blah, 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 blah. Here's a big one, and I'm going to say this for everybody, so I want you to pay close attention. Lean into the screen if you need to. If your spouse has a highly stressful vocation that requires them to come home and decompress daily, do not allow yourself to become fatigued in the marriage, constantly listening to the bad day they had at work. They had a bad day at work and they come home complaining about their job every single day. Do not shut them down. Do not equate your being tired of hearing about their stressful job with the marriage causing fatigue. We get that way sometimes. Yeah. We'll allow the marriage to suffer because life is hard or my job is hard. You come home complaining a lot. You do. You do. It's okay though. Because you do have some good days. You do. But when you come home and complain, oh, this was the kid. I mean, you work with 2-year-olds. You're going to have a stressful day. When you come home complaining about them kids every day, I'm like, I just need to go up there and kick a few of them to help you out. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just saying I can't attach your vocation or your work stress to the marriage.
Right.
I need to let you get it out. It's better for me to let you get that out.
That does make sense because if one spouse is complaining about the stressfulness at work constantly, and that spouse who's listening doesn't listen anymore with the intent to build that spouse up, they can be detached and not listen at all.
Absolutely.
And then be like, okay, tomorrow I'm not going to be here when she get home or when he get home because I don't want to hear. Or I'm not going to answer because this is the time that they get off and I don't want to hear her. Yeah, because that can happen. Yeah. Because you equate it with, oh, she just won't be or he just won't be this way.
Absolutely.
And you can do that. That does make sense.
Yeah.
That does make sense
Yeah.
now that you said it more than one time. I was like, wait, what does that mean?
You don't want to disconnect from your spouse just because they have a bad day, a rough day, 6 days in a row. Stay there. Be that source for them to vent to and let it out.
That also speaks to if one spouse is have health issues. Couldn't that speak to that too? Like if they're
Absolutely.
not having a great day, like their health isn't as well as good as
Yeah.
it should be, and the
Yeah.
other spouse is the one that
I was just
is
having
the
a
helper.
conversation the other day.
And it's just like, I don't want to be here no more because it's
Yeah.
going to happen again.
Yeah.
And yeah, you cannot equate that with
I
your
was
marriage.
just having a
stress.
conversation with my brother.
That's
the other day.
important
Yeah.
because that can happen in marriages. And it's just like we give up because it's so stressful on that
Mm-hmm.
spouse who's trying to take care of that or listen
Yeah.
to that situation. They constantly have to
Yeah.
hear it or see it
Yeah.
or be in the middle of it or be involved. So that is very important
Yeah.
to not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've got to be careful.
Be very
That-
careful.
We don't, again, punish our spouse
Yep.
because of the weight of the world that's on them. We cannot. I can't hold you accountable for what everybody else did or
Right.
said. It's not your fault that I have a stressful job.
If
It's not your
anything, you
fault.
should be the one trying to build them up.
Right, right. Because the world has beat them down so
Beat them
much.
down so
When
much.
they come home, can we be glad they came home?
Right.
Can we be glad they came home?
And not to add any more stress when they get home.
Exactly.
Because that would
Get it out.
that would be horrible if all the stress is outside of the home, and then when you come home, you want to decompress,
But you
and then
can't.
it's like, oh no, I'm not gonna go home because
Right, because they're just
they
gonna be nagging.
they're gonna be nagging. They're not gonna listen. They're gonna be needy. So your home should be a loving environment
Mhm.
where your spouse wants to come home and vent or get it off their chest, and they can feel like, oh yes, I need to hurry up and get
Right.
home because
Right. And let me,
I need
let me
to
just
do
hurry to
this
get home,
at
so
home
I can. Yeah.
so I can do all of those
Yeah.
things.
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
Remember when I was working for the newspaper in Rockville and we lived in Southeast DC?
Yeah.
I used to take the long way home on purpose
Why?
so that I could decompress. Because I knew when I walked through that door, you'd be happy to see me. The babies be happy to see me. And I didn't want to cheat y'all
Aww.
by being angry or being frustrated or being tired or aggravated. So I would take the long way home and get my mind
Hey.
off my day.
So you
So that
didn't.
I didn't want to bring the aggravation of life home.
Aw.
That's why I would always take me so long to come home. It wasn't that I didn't want to be there. I just didn't want to
You know,
come
I used to
home.
time you too.
Oh, listen.
I be like, what is taking them so long? It doesn't take them that long.
She still do that. Thanks a lot. But that's something that we
Aw,
need to be
sweet.
mindful of. Separate the
That's why I love
aggravation
you.
of life from
You
the.
just made me teary eyed.
Oh, Lord. Come on, we got 12 more minutes. We got to get through better verse, so you can stay
Yeah,
focused.
sorry. That was cute.
Okay, so how to strengthen your marriage. We talked about differentiating outside stresses from internal stresses. We talked about the importance of
That's a good
getting some
husband right
sleep.
there. He didn't want to upset his family with
I
his
didn't. I never wanted to take out on
Problems.
y'all the stuff that was stressing me out about everybody else. And I had some stressful jobs over the years. I mean, what I'm doing now is stressful, but I've had some stressful jobs over the years. I never wanted to take that out on you and the kids.
Yeah, because we'll be all, hi.
Mhm.
And then
And I
you come
wanted to-
home, it's like,
Because the last thing anybody should ever want to do is be the Debbie Downer in the group.
yeah.
If everybody else is on 10 and they're excited to see you,
Oh, but didn't that affect you? Like, when did you get it? Like, when did you get it out? When were you able to vent? Because you can't vent to yourself, can you?
no,
Yeah. So
because I already know what the problem is, so I'm not going to.
that's what I'm
talk
saying.
about
So
it.
when were you able to vent? If you didn't, you're saying that you didn't bring it into that, like you didn't want to bring it home because you didn't want to be the Debbie Downer when you got home.
I didn't vent.
Didn't that affect you?
Oh gosh, I got all kind of buried issues in my brain.
Oh,
I have buried a lot of stuff over the years.
is that
put
a
it
man
aside.
thing?
No,
Oh,
no, that's not. I mean, men do bury emotions,
Is there men out there who do that, who does that example that he gave? Like, you don't want to be the Debbie Downer, so you don't bring your problems home. Like, you don't communicate, so you fake it when you get home. You fake like, oh, I had a good day, but you really didn't.
Right.
And how is that affecting you?
Yeah.
Because we do want to be mindful, like wives. You want to be mindful of your husband, because sometimes we don't ever know what's going on with you because you're the head of how you got to be strong. And black men, it's always, you can't cry. Growing up, no, you the man, you need to be strong. So how does that affect you if you're doing that? Men out there who may do that, who want to have a smile on their face for their wives because they're so excited coming home to their wife. Because men out there, I know some men out there, they love their wives. They want to hurry and get home, but they've had a stressful day and they don't want to bring that day down with their complaints.
I think that's another show. We'll have to talk about that.
But that's good. That's a good.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to cover that one.
That's a heart issue.
It is. I mean in a good
way.
I don't think I ever.
Love for.
Yeah.
Your significant other heart issue.
Yeah. For me personally, and I don't want to make this about me.
Right.
But I don't think I ever felt like I couldn't tell you.
Right.
I always felt like I didn't want to because I didn't want to burden you.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to put that on.
That's another.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about that at a later time, probably sometime later. But okay, we're wrapping it up. Differentiate outside stresses from internal stresses. Get some sleep. Take your behind the bed and go to sleep. Acknowledge the real source of your emotions. If you find yourself snapping at your spouse, if you find yourself being very
short,
easily offended and short fused with your spouse, ask yourself, am I really mad at them, or am I taking it out on them because I'm mad at somebody else that I can't attack? You might want to cuss your boss out, but you can't. So here comes your spouse. Well, I'm gonna let them have it.
Right.
And so we've got to make sure that we're not doing that. Acknowledge and identify the real source of your emotions. And then here's a big one. If you feel like the spark, and I'm putting that in air quotes, has gone out in your marriage, the reality is it can be relit.
Yay.
If you've ever had to relight the pilot in the stove, as long as there is gas, it can be relit.
Yes.
And the same thing goes for your marriage.
Light up my life.
She had a playlist for this show. But as long as there is fuel for the marriage, that spark can be reignited, that flame can be relit again. You just have to take the time to do it. I was just talking to a good friend of mine the other day, him and his wife, they got away. They literally only went, I think, 2 hours away, but they were there for a few days. Yeah. No kids, no work,
that's good.
No shop. You got to schedule time, make time, one for another, separate yourselves from all of the stress of life. Even if you do a staycation, go to a hotel. I know you got a nice house and all of that good stuff, and ain't no comfort like your own bed. But go take your spouse to the hotel for the week and do nothing, and just sleep, and just relax. I won't tell them about what the time when we did that, but I can tell them. No. Don't talk about. But we've done that before. We've done just one night at a hotel, got away from the kids, got away from work.
It's important.
And just went to the hotel and just woosah'd. No work, no life, no stress. Just 24 hours at the hotel, just woosah'd. You got to do that sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Because that kind of separation from those stressors will help you to alleviate a lot of the fatigue in your life. All right. So it is time for Vetta's verse.
Conquering disappointment. Disappointment can corrode a marriage like rust eats away at a car. Any number of things, a spouse's employment, a chronic illness, a serious betrayal. These things often kill marriages. This is where a spiritual perspective may not only help, but be essential. Faith does not deny disappointment. Some things really are awful. We may find ourselves placing our hope in many things, our spouse, our careers, our health, yet these things have their limitations. Spouses, being human, will disappoint. Careers change, health fades, but God doesn't. Ultimately, our hope is in Him. It's important to remember He is in us when we hurt. It is perhaps even more important to remember He is also in our spouse. Sorry. They have affirmed that the we is stronger than the it of disappointment, and marriage is better for it. And your marriage is better for it. Sorry, excuse me. How does your marriage ultimate hope carry you in times of disappointment or discouragement? Question number 2, how does having two of you to cope with troubles give you courage as you face the future? Those were 2 marriage builders in our couples devotional Bible. Conquering disappointment. That was Betta's verse.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good words. Good words. Make sure that you are working together on your marriage, contributing one with another. It's not about meet me halfway. It's not about you give this much and I'll give this much. It's not about compromise all the time.
It's not just meeting together.
It's about working together.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So we got to do that. All right. Make sure that you are following us on all of the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Click that notification bell so that you can make sure every time we upload new content. We've got some exciting things coming up in the future for the show, and so we're excited about that. You may have or may not have paid attention. Apple has done some new things with their podcast platform, and so we are going to be putting this show in the Apple Podcast in the future, in the Google Podcast in the future, as an audio file, so you'll be able to listen to it and not just be forced on the social media platforms. I had somebody the other day tell me that they would love to be able to listen while they're working out. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to be setting that up as well in the future. You'll be able to subscribe to the podcast if that's what you choose to do. But in the meantime, let us know that this has been helpful for you, some value for you. Reach out to us on social media, DM us on Facebook, Happy Spouse, Happy House, all of the different platforms that we are on, so that we know that this is working for you as well. We're excited about the month of May. For many different reasons. The primary reason that we're excited about the month of May is because that's our anniversary.
It's our anniversary month.
Watch out there now.
Yay.
20 years.
20 years this year.
And it has not been a burden.
No. No burden.
So, in lieu of that,
challenges, but no burden.
A lot of challenges and some challenges to come.
We work through them.
That's right. And so we're excited. So,
what are we talking about for the rest
of
the month?
For the month of May, I'm trying to find my notes here. We are going to, where did it go? Here it is. For the month of May, we're going to do a series leading up to, so it's so interesting. Our anniversary is May 27th, and that's going to be the last Thursday of the month of May. And so we're going to do a series on marriage vows. It's going to be a vows series. And it's going to be a 4-part series all of May. So we're going to be talking about marriage vows for the entire month of May. So make sure you're here. Make sure you're here with your spouse. Make sure that you guys are locked in. Because remember, everything that we talk about is to help you enjoy your marriage far more than you endure it. So be with us for the entire month of May. We're going to be talking about vows. We're going to be talking through a series on that. And we're excited about it. We can't wait to share with you what we've learned, what we've gleaned, what we found out, and everything else pertaining to your vows. So be here with us all of May while we do the vows series. Listen, this beautiful queen over here is Veda.
And that handsome guy over there is Mac.
And this has been Couch Conversations. Thanks for hanging out with
Thank
us.
you.
We'll
It's 10
see you
o'clock.
next
Good
week.
night.
God bless you.